What if I told you mental toughness isn't in your DNA but in your training routine?
Exactly, think of it like lifting weights for the mind. First rep feels heavy. Next one is a bit easier because your brain adapts. Repeat that discomfort and it builds muscle.
So, how did you first notice this idea when you were still a student? Why not just avoid pain?
When I was in college, every lecture felt like a test on a cliff edge. I kept thinking, I can't handle this. That thought built a story of inadequacy. Instead of shying away, I sat on the front row and felt that dread until it faded.
You mentioned separating pain from story. What exactly is the difference?
Pain is the physical or emotional sensation, cold, rejection, failure. Story is the narrative we attach. I failed because I'm bad. The trick is to feel the pain fully, then ask, what does this tell me about my strategy? Not what does it say about me?
Got it? What's a concrete framework you use to keep that separation clear?
I call it the PS check. P for pain, rate 1 to 10. S for story, write the narrative verbatim. Then ask, does this story help or harm? If it harms, flip the narrative to a question: what can I learn from this pain?
Can you give an example from your martial arts training?
Sure, once I was knocked down during a sparring match. The pain level was 9. My story started with I'm too weak. I shifted to ask why did the opponent's move succeed? How can I improve my card? That change let me recover and win next round.
Nice shift. How does this apply in a startup scenario like raising a round?
When you pitch to investors, rejection is common. Pain, the story often becomes no one believes in me. Instead, ask which feedback shows I need to refine my pitch. Then use that data point as your next iteration. It keeps you moving forward.
You mentioned Air Deccan's Captain Gopinath. How does his story illustrate this framework?
Captain G.R. Gopinath faced regulatory blocks, funding gaps, and public doubt, heavy pain points. He refused to spin a story of failure. Instead, he treated each obstacle as a training session, refining processes, and keeping the team focused on what mattered: low cost flight.
So his success was built by repeatedly exposing himself to hardship. How would you translate that into a daily practice for listeners?
I've called it the toughness gym. Add one voluntary discomfort each week: cold shower, hard workout, or tough conversation. Record the pain level and question your story. Keep a survived list: 3 things you're proud of overcoming. Check it daily to remind yourself of capacity.
If someone is terrified of a cold shower, what's an alternative?
Pick anything that pushes comfort. Maybe a night without screens or speaking publicly about a failure in your network. The key is the choice: small, regular, deliberate discomfort that forces you to process pain, not escape it.
What about people who have mental fatigue already? How do they start without burning out?
Start with a micro challenge: 5 minutes of mindful breathing under tension. Gradually add complexity as the mind adjusts. Think of it like progressive overload in weight training, only this time you're loading cognitive resilience.
You said people often think toughness is a personality trait. How can they shift that mindset?
Challenge the belief with evidence. Recall when a founder laughed at a failed prototype, then iterated until it worked. That laugh was not about innate talent but learning from pain. The evidence flips the story. I am tough because I act on discomfort.
That's powerful. Lastly, if someone hits a wall and feels stuck, what should they do?
Take the wall in chunks, break it into micro tasks. Use the PS check, rate pain, question story, then set an immediate action. Remember your survived list to see that you've already broken walls before.
Right. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of training that grit. First up, what's one specific daily ritual you recommend for founders who are stuck in a comfort zone?
Okay, so think of your morning routine as a mini workout. Start with 5 minutes of cold water splashing over your face, just enough to wake the blood flow. Then do 10 burpees. Keep your form tight and finish with a quick breathing circle. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 1, exhale for 4.
Nice concrete steps. How does that translate into mental resilience?
When you hit that physical shock first thing, the body's stress hormones spike, cortisol and adrenaline. Your brain learns to stay calm in the face of that spike. Over weeks, it rewires the fear circuit. Discomfort no longer feels like a threat.
So, a daily pain spike becomes a training signal. How often should we up the intensity?
Once you've kept it consistent for 3 to 4 weeks, bump either the cold temperature or the burpee count by about 15%. Incremental changes keep your nervous system in adaptive range, preventing burnout.
Got it. Moving on, many founders get burned out from relentless criticism. What's a quick mental tool to handle negative feedback?
Here's the noise filter framework. Step 1, label the feedback as noise or data. If it's personal, toss it. That's just someone's story. If it's actionable, write it down and rate its impact from 1 to 10.
Writing it down helps. How does that change the emotional response?
When you externalize the critique onto paper, the brain no longer feels it as a personal attack. It treats it like any other piece of information, just another data point to act on.
What if the feedback seems all negative but no positives are given?
Ask three clarifying questions. What exactly is wrong? Why do you think it's a problem? How would you fix it? This turns vague criticism into actionable insight. If answers don't surface, likely the feedback lacks useful data.
Great. Switching gears, imagine you're facing an unexpected market pivot. The roadmap was clear, but suddenly it's obsolete. How do you avoid paralysis?
Invoke the three action sprint. First, validate the new direction with a single hypothesis test. Second, reassign the team to run that test for 1 week. Third, decide if the test meets our threshold of 10% improvement, pivot. If not, return to the original plan.
You're talking about short cycles, huh? How do you keep morale high during these intense bursts?
Celebrate micro successes. At each sprint's end, have a 5-minute shout out circle where everyone shares one thing that went right. That small positive reinforcement fuels the next cycle.
Okay, back to mental muscle. How do founders know when they've built enough toughness? When is it safe to stop training?
Toughness isn't a destination, it's maintenance. Look for two signals. First, you feel less jittery when faced with uncertainty. Second, your survived list expands without hesitation. There's no endpoint, just an ongoing regimen.
So it's like a gym membership forever. Speaking of the survived list, can you walk us through a real example from your early startup days?
Sure, in 2016, our prototype was rejected by investors twice in 2 weeks. I recorded that rejection as item 1. Then we launched an MVP on a free tier. We hit 5,000 users within 30 days. That's 2. Finally, we raised seed funding from a venture firm. That's 3.
Those are concrete wins. How does recalling them help in future tough moments?
Each item serves as an evidence packet that your brain uses to discount the story I am broken. When a new crisis hits, you flip the list. I've survived XYZ. That context reduces fear.
Interesting. Now let's talk about team dynamics. If a co founder is emotionally overwhelmed, what quick strategy can a founder deploy to stabilize the ship?
The 3 check protocol. First, validate their feelings with a nod or an empathetic sentence. I see you're stressed. Second, ask them one problem solving question. What is the single thing that would relieve this now? Third, assign that action immediately.
That keeps conversations constructive instead of venting. What about investors who pressure you to accelerate?
Use the reality loop. Tell them we've decided on X milestone and Y target date. If they push back, counter with a single metric. Our current runway is 4 months if we keep the same burn. Numbers ground the debate.
Numbers, got it. Switching to something lighter, what's an off the cuff mental trick you use before presenting to stakeholders?
I run a quick 30-second anchor. I picture my best pitch in a stadium and take 3 deep breaths that aligns the nervous system with confidence signals.
It sounds almost like meditation. Is that intentional?
Yes, it's called focused breathing from sports psychology. The act of drawing air in synchronizes heart rhythm, making you feel steadier.
Nice. Before we wrap, any final advice for founders who think building toughness is optional?
Remember the metaphor, toughness is a muscle, stress is its gym. If you skip the gym, the muscle shrinks and will buckle under pressure. The cost of failure due to frailty far outweighs the effort of training.
Well said. Before we finish, let's recap the key takeaways.
First, start with a small daily discomfort like cold showers or burpees. It's your micro workout. Second, use frameworks, noise filter for criticism, and 3 action sprint for pivots to keep emotions in check. Third, maintain a survived list as evidence of resilience. Finally, never treat stress as an accident, treat it as routine.
Three crisp points. Great. Thanks so much, Pranay, for all the actionable insight today.
Happy to share. Remember, toughness grows in tiny, deliberate reps. Keep training.
If you found value here, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share with someone who needs this muscle tone. Next week, we'll dive into the daily operating system that turns all of this into routine. Until then, stay tough, stay curious, and keep moving forward. This is the founder mindset. See you next episode.